depth strategy. So in channel depth strategy, the decision is how many levels of wholesalers and retailers do we want between the manufacturer and the buyer. So Amazon.com, for instance, at one point they added warehouses in regional areas and added greater depth to their distribution channel to make it more efficient and speedy. We're not going to talk about channel depth except to define it kind of in a general sense. What we're going to worry about is channel width or coverage. And this has to do with the decision of where do we sell our product or service. So where do we sell our product or service? Let's go to the next slide. And these three coverage strategies: intensive, selective, and exclusive. Let's talk about intensive. What does that mean? It means the objective is to maximize coverage by distributing our products in as many retailers as possible, many outlets as possible in a geographic area. So the most intensively distributed products, you'll notice, are things like gum and cigarettes. They're available almost everywhere, right? Think vending machine. Most intensive way of distribution that you can do is the vending machine, because you get closer to consumers. Soft drinks, water, all of that's intensively distributed, because we need maximized coverage. And we need maximized coverage because for these items, for Mentos, the Fresh Maker, for Trident gum, everything has to do with distribution in terms of their sales. So if they can put it close to you, if they had some way of putting Trident gum floating by you wherever you went, the probability of you buying that at some point would be higher. So at checkout, that's the most intensive distribution. If you have it at a supermarket, you know, the more places in a supermarket you have something. When Procter & Gamble puts Tide, in addition to where it regularly belongs as laundry detergent, when they put it on an end aisle display, sales for that store double. It's guaranteed. It's a guaranteed known thing they can plan on. That's how important distribution is. 80% of all decisions made about supermarket items are made in the store. 80% of what is bought in the supermarket is bought by people who have not predetermined with lists what they are going to buy with those decisions made in the store. So getting these goods close to people, paramount, in front of them. So candy bars. What else would be something that would be intensively distributed besides these examples? What else? Yes? Batteries. Oh, you have another one? Oh. Yeah. Magazines? Yes? Very back?
Maybe like Hanes or Fruit of the Loom.
Hanes or Fruit of the Loom, I'd agree. Those types. Certain types of underwear and stuff wouldn't be intensively distributed. That's the same example as this chocolate one. Notice, usually these goods, we can say, like all gum is intensively distributed, but sometimes there's an exception, like Godiva chocolate. In the area of underwear, fashion is different, but definitely Hanes and Fruit of the Loom are intensively distributed. Yes?
Soft drinks?
Soft drinks, like the kind in the vending machines that I mentioned earlier. That's okay. Deodorant, definitely, for the most part. Gasoline, yeah. Yeah. Fast food. Okay, so all of these are routine types of decisions. These are things we do, we buy a lot of at different times. They're things that are low priced. Did you notice that? Because they're routinely purchased. You will need to connect the three types of decision making, routine, limited, and extensive, to these coverage strategies. But wait on that. Okay. Sales depend on seeing. But what are we sacrificing by coverage? We are sacrificing the level of sales effort at the point of purchase. That is, we don't expect a cashier at a Hy-Vee to be able to tell a customer about the merits of Trident sugarless bubblegum. We don't need them to. And we don't expect them to. Let's go to the next slide. For these items, and this is a huge, vast, ambiguous middle ground between the two extremes. For these items, we want salespeople to have some knowledge of our products, to be able to give some information to customers. These are products that are consistent with limited decision making, so consumers are willing to do spend a little bit of time on evaluation, information search, but not a ton of time on it. So we need a balance of coverage and what we call sales push, or sales effort. Okay? Balance. So for an intensively distributed product, they're not going to sell, or they're not going to have people trained on Trident Gum, because you sell Trident Gum everywhere. We don't make much of a profit off Trident Gum compared to everything else. So it's not worth it. Selective items, though, what we're saying to the retailer is, we are going to let you sell this model of digital camera, Best Buy, and it's not going to be sold at Walmart. And so because of that, you need to know your stuff when it comes to this product. We're trying to get them to be motivated to learn about our products, to help with sales effort, and at the same time, we're getting it out there in some places, just not intensively. Okay. So let's go to the next slide and take a look at the other extreme. Exclusive distribution. This is where we distribute something only in one place in a geographic area, one store. So, Rolex watches. Mike Menser, the father of Mike Menser, the son who runs it now, the jewelry store, Book Raiders, he told me at one time they had an exclusive agreement with Rolex to be the only one selling Rolex watches in mid-Missouri. And that is extremely beneficial. Why is it? There are three reasons why it's really beneficial to have exclusive distribution. Yes? Okay, not exactly. She said you can mark up the price as high as you want because you don't have competition. You can't mark up the price as high as you want because the manufacturer controls what you sell it for. But you're right in the sense that because you have no other competition, anyone who buys a Rolex watch is buying it from you and you'll get the profits. So directly you have that advantage. Okay, good. What's another positive benefit? Yes? Yeah, having the Rolex exclusivity adds prestige. It's a positive association with your store, right? And there's one more reason why it's really valuable. Yes?
Elevate the status of the product.
We're talking about for the retailer, okay? I mean, you might be right. It might help their association, too, to be a good, highly reputed retailer. Yes, in the very back?
It brings people into the store.
It brings people in the store. So, I am interested, good, that's number 3, brings in traffic. I am interested in buying a luxury watch. I may want to look at several, including Rolex. So I have to go to Book Raiders to do my comparison. I may not end up buying Rolex, but I may end up buying some other watch. They get those sales. So it brings in traffic and the opportunities to sell other products. So having an exclusive distributorship is a big, big deal. So those manufacturers expect performance in terms of taking the time to know everything about their products and their competitors and helping them sell their products. Sales push, it's called, when you depend on personal selling as your main promotional tool. Pull is when you use advertising to pull consumers into the store. We'll talk about that later, but it's important to know that you can look at this in two different ways. One way is the way we've looked at it so far, which is certain products tend to be distributed in certain ways, like intensive, candy bars, Ferraris, exclusive. What's another example of something exclusive? You can think of. Yeah?
I don't know, but what was the first advantage that you said of exclusive distribution?
Sorry, I could tell you the reasons. There's a Ramones concert involved and some other things, but I couldn't hear you. What? Oh, he answered. Oh. So I wasn't fast enough, so you depend on somebody else. Okay, thanks. Sorry. See how insecure I am? It's like I say everything first. It's fine. Okay. Okay, so certain products like high-end automobiles distributed exclusively. That's more selective. But Sharper Image products, because it's through their own stores, right? Okay, yeah, so those products are exclusive to Sharper Image stores. I think you're right. Good. But the thing is, there aren't many. But it's really important strategically to know that here you're sacrificing coverage. So you better have people who are willing to travel to get to your product. And yes, if you live in Jeff City, you might be willing to go to Columbia to buy a Rolex. But you wouldn't be willing to go to Columbia to buy Mentos if you had to, right? You need it right there. Okay, so that's a big difference. So this follows an important correlation pattern that ties price to distribution. You should see that in this. Low-priced items that are routinely purchased are intensively distributed. Then there's that middle ground, limited. Let's go to the next slide. You don't have this, but in the very back, at the very last slide, we integrate the we integrate promotion with this. But the point is, low price is associated with routine decisions and intensive decision making, limited with average or competitive price, selective, extensive, high price, exclusive distribution. So another way to think about it is strategically for a firm that's going to make a move, and I'll explain this in the best example. I'll just tell you my example. It's the best way to explain it. Okay, there was a time when I was consulting with a firm called Taco Bell in Irvine, California. That's where they do the marketing. And what they were doing is they had done research that showed them that they could gain significant market share through expanding their distribution. Okay? So that is, they found that if they were closer to people, if the people had more opportunities, they would benefit greatly from that in terms of sales. Okay? So they contracted with companies to help them develop kitchen equipment for small areas so they could fit into food courts and gas stations and airports and places like that. So this was before they were in those places. And my part of the consulting was to analyze the other marketing mix factors relative to this move for major expansion. And one of the things from my report that they adopted